Hey there, this is Raj from ShareTrick. Good morning. This is Saturday around 8:51 a.m. and I want to do this quick video to share with you my insights. I think the charts are trying to tell us that there could be a trend reversal in store for next week. Of course, these are my personal opinions and not financial advice. I want to share my thoughts with you and get your feedback in the comment section. That said, let's get started. Well, here we are in the S&P 500 futures. Well, as you know, earlier in the week, I had drawn a target of around 7,040 based on a bull flag pattern, which starts from here all the way up to here. And I'm thinking that we got a bearish signal on Friday. As the market closed, we see this long wick and a very narrow body out here. And we ended a little negative on that day, which means that we were not able to go above the previous day's closing. So that itself is bearish. And on top of that, this whole formation is like a topping tail. So I would be cautious at this point of time. We may even continue to have this bull flag breakout going all the way to the target. That's very much possible. But first, it has to go through the resistance out here. And it had to go through the resistance, which is the closing of the previous day. And it was not able to do that. And that was a spectacular effort. The market was pushed all the way up to 6,800. And the sellers pushed it back down again to 6,766. So I think this is a very strong indicator of bearishness. MACD is also moving towards the signal line to cross over to the bearish side. So those are the three factors, I think, which are indicating some kind of bearishness and a potential trend reversal. Now, if you look at NASDAQ was not able to stay above Thursday's opening, Thursday's closing. So that is the first bearish sign. And it was not able to go above and close above the peak of Thursday or the opening of Thursday. And it actually closed below the opening of the previous day and the closing of the previous day, all put together. It shows a good deal of bearishness when you take the NASDAQ futures along with S&P 500 futures. And one has to have a little bit of a pause given that we have such elevated valuations and the market continues to be pushing through despite the fact that there is a shutdown, despite the fact that the student loan issue is going to create a lot of subprime individuals who will not be eligible for many things. And all of these factors, I think, have to weigh in some time or the other when taken along with the impact of the tariffs and potential unemployment created by AI. We have spoken about all those factors, fundamentals. The market is not respecting the fundamentals so far, and it can only go on for so long. So I am always on the alert. That's why I think now we have to be a bit careful. And if you look at gold, gold continues to keep on moving upwards. Now we have a target of around 3,887.52. And that is still within reach. I think we have already touched that in the past. And there seems to be a lot of support now. This diagonal line of support, this green line, as well as the top of the parallel channel is going to provide support. And this is a weekly chart that we are looking at. Now, if we go to a daily chart, we can see that we have not yet been able to extinguish the topping tail, but we have come back very strongly on Friday. So gold is also trying to say that there is an aversion to the risks that are presented in the fundamentals, and the market is trying to, the stock market is trying to ignore all the fundamentals and is just going based on momentum. So something has to give. And I am watching to see if we are going to form a new pattern out here once we meet this target and whether that pattern happens to be bullish or bearish. Now, let us go and have a look at the indicators, the way they closed. You will see that even in the indicators, we have a topping tail out here for S&P 500. And the topping tail, I'm just going to expand this a little bit more so you can see it much more clearly. The topping tail could not even touch this diagonal line of resistance. It was pushed back down and it ended up here. Ideally, I would have liked to have this body of the candle a little bit below, but I'll still take this. This also is a big indicator of bearishness. The fact that we just barely managed to close 0.1% above the previous day's close. Doesn't indicate any bullishness to me. It shows a whole lot of weakness, and it could also be a fluke that we have this marginal gain out here, maybe a last trade or something that skewed this, but this candle itself shows a whole lot of weakness, in my opinion. Next, let's look at NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was not able to crack past the invisible resistance out here, which made sure that the opening could not go above the previous day's opening. The opening of Friday could not go above Thursday's opening, and the close of Friday was way below the close of Thursday. In fact, we closed just below the wick that was formed on Thursday. So this is reinforcing bearishness out here, and QQQ reflects the same thing, so I don't have to repeat that. Now let us go on to some of the stocks which have been instrumental in moving the market. NVDA is the first one in case in point. And for NVDA, I was quite bullish and I continue to be bullish. We have this reverse head and shoulder pattern out here, which has a target for NVIDIA to go to 202.88. We have momentary weakness out here, which also had its impact on the indices. This weakness is because NVIDIA's AI chip deal with UAE is stalled due to US requirements for funding before export licenses. And this delay has caused a little bit of a dip, but I think those issues can be resolved. It's not something unresolvable. It's not like China has said, or UAE has said, we will not buy any more NVIDIA chips or put some kind of regulatory blockade. It's just a funding issue, and there will be a lot of companies there will be a lot of banks and institutions which can do the funding. So funding should not be a big problem, and UAE is a major customer. And I think UAE definitely wants to have all those advanced chips. So I'm thinking that this could just be a blip, but the fact that we have these two bearish candles out here should give us a moment to pause. And you look at Meta. Meta has been going down consistently. And I thought there was a little bit of a trend reversal out here, but it fell down back with a lot of vengeance. It's down 2.27%. So I think we are still marching towards our target of 652.22. NVIDIA was the ringleader, and other companies like Meta, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, they were following the pack. The other leader was AMD. And AMD had made a smart recovery. It went above the line of resistance of 163.22. But I can see that it was not able to confirm because it did not close above the previous candle. In fact, it came down, it hugged the line of support and got a little bit of a pushback. This is a weak situation to be in. Market sentiment is also bearish. MACD is tending towards the signal line and momentum has dropped suddenly. So I'm thinking that AMD and NVIDIA together are showing a good deal of weakness. Now, these are the two stocks that are actually the ringleaders. And then if we go to SMH, the semiconductor ETF, we can see that we have a long-term trend line which has been coming with us from almost, I would say, 21st of March, 2025. Now, this trend line has got multiple touch points, and what we did was on Thursday, we hit the trend line, we got pushed down. And again, on Friday, we hit the trend line and we got pushed down even further. Now we are close below the wick. You can see this pattern reflected in the S&P 500 as well and NASDAQ as well. We are close down further, and there is still a little bit of gap left out here to be filled up. So I think that SMH is also showing weakness. Now, if you go to the other companies which were kind of supporting, they are still anemic. Google ended up with a gain of just 0.01% out here. And if you look at Amazon, we had crossed the neckline for a head and shoulder pattern to give us a target of around 205.85. And we were moving along just below the neckline. And on Friday's action, we went above the neckline, but we could not stay there. We were pushed back instantly. So I'm thinking this some kind of a bearish flag or bearish pennant being formed out here, which would eventually break out on the downside and take us towards the target of 205.76. So We are not going to get support from Meta. We are not going to get support from Amazon. And NVDA and AMD are showing weakness. Now let us look at Microsoft, which is the other company which was supporting. And in Microsoft, I see a bullish pattern out here, a potential inverse head and shoulder pattern, which can give us a good deal of jump. But I think we are in a delicate situation where things can turn around in a dime. And one of the other leaders was Palantir. Palantir has had a huge drop, 7.47%. That's the drop of for Palantir. And you also have the news of Palantir Technologies director selling 20,000 shares. We had been very bullish about this, and I had done a cup and handle target, which would take us all the way to 218.37. Now, that was subject to us being able to break through this barrier of the parallel channel, and we could not break above it, leave alone break above it, and go to challenge 189.39. That's what I mentioned in my live stream. We couldn't do that. So this target now becomes a little bit difficult to attain, 218.77. So we have this potential for this cup and handle pattern to fail. And if that happens, then all of these shares together are going to drag the index down. And if the index does fall down, let's start with the futures. If the index does fall down, where will it get support? So I think the first support it will get is 6,723.75. And the next support that it would get would be around 6,606.80. So those are the immediate two supports that I can see. And that would be a drop. And once that happens, then we will have all these leverage positions, and there would be a whole lot of people trying to take profits. It's all a game of psychology. And if we come down from here, then we'd be forming a double top pattern. And if it crosses our threshold out here, a neckline which could potentially form out here, then we would have a target, a bearish target for further downward pressure. And the next support then would end up being 6,474. So those are all the possibilities out there. And that's why I think we have to be careful next week. And yeah, that kind of brings me to the end of this video just on technical analysis. I'd like to hear from you guys how you're positioning yourself, and do you share my concerns with the S&P 500 futures as well as the S&P 500 indicators itself when seen along with the likes of NVIDIA, AMD, Meta, and Amazon. Please let me know your thoughts. I'll catch up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.